them a header that went wide, but Chelsea have had good opportunities too. One of them was smothered by Edison, a one-on-one for Jackson. The other one taken, though, by Raheem Sterling. Well, we knew this was going to be a problematic afternoon for the Blues, and it has not disappointed us in that regard. And so at half-time here at the Etihad Stadium, it is City 0, Chelsea 1. Well, let's go back to the studio where Richard Dunne and Nicky Weaver are in the company of Kel Spellman.
Good evening, welcome back to the Matchday Live studio here at the Etihad Stadium, where it is currently Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1. And a name all too familiar with Manchester City fans, the goal scorer for Chelsea, Raheem Sterling. Alongside me is Nicky Weaver and Richard Dunne. Richard, I mean, to say it was 0-0 with about 40 minutes to go was quite an exciting first half of football. But you've got to say maybe Chelsea definitely deserved of the 1-0 lead.
I think with the clearest chances certainly felt at Chelsea. They've been very smart in how they've set up today. I think their shape is really good. They've made it really difficult for City to get through them down the middle in terms of trying to find space for Foden and Bruyne has been difficult. And when they've had the opportunity to go forward, they've had willing runners trying to run in behind. They've had players play good passes, and yeah, they had a bit of a scare beforehand when Jackson got in and nearly scored, and then Sterling missed an opportunity, and then finally they made it work well and they got a goal. And yeah, I mean, it's been quite open from City, which we were surprised about. And at the moment, the result probably reflects the number of chances that Chelsea have had in that first half.
Where are you kind of placing where it might not be quite clicking for City? Is it something City need to be doing differently, Nicky, or is it that Chelsea have actually turned up and been really good?
I think Chelsea have been really good. We thought City controlled the game. They have in patches, but not, over the 45 minutes. Gallagher's sort of dropping in, playing here, there and everywhere, and they've got pace, and that's an issue. So they've been caught 2 or 3 times on the counter. As Richard just said, Jackson should have scored. It was a good save from Edison. Sterling had an easier chance before he actually took his chance. But yeah, I don't think we've got our, creative players on the ball enough in the right areas. So we need to, in my opinion, need to get De Bruyne. Doku's seen plenty of the ball, but there's not really been that much end product there. We need to get Foden on the ball more in the dangerous area. But listen, second half, I think it'll be a different game. I think most of the play will be down this end, and City will really go for it. It's just when we get the chances, we've got to take them because, Edison's been the busier of the 2 goalkeepers.
What positives have you seen from a Manchester City point of view? As you know, say Chelsea have had the better chances, but have you seen glimpses of what maybe we could be doing a little bit more of in the second half to try and, get this back and get 3 points on the board?
I think a real positive between Doku down the left wing when he's got the ball. He's tried to take him on. He's not made the right decision all the time, but he's always been positive in terms of the idea that he has in his head. He wants to get at him, he wants to cut the ball back. Haaland had a good opportunity from the cross, which he just headed over the bar. Apart from that, it's been difficult for City. It's not been as fluid and as free-flowing as we normally see. I think Conor Gallagher's done a really good job, and he's not man-marked Rodri, but he's been very close to him every time he's got the ball, which has restricted his number of touches, and he's the one that dictates the tempo and drags people out and creates opportunities and spaces for other players, and he's not been allowed to do that today. So I think the one thing that we've always seen is when there's a problem, Pep finds a solution somewhere. He's got 15 minutes now, try and look at it, try and see where he can tweak things, and at the moment the space seems to be out wide, so we might see a little change in terms of maybe, like Andy said before the game, Kyle Walker pushing higher up, Phil Foden coming inside a bit, and Kanji dropping back in with Diaz and Nicky to play more as a more natural centre half. But there's problems to be solved, and we've got the best manager in the world to go and do it.
Yeah, well, that's it. That definitely gives me cause for hope. But going forward, as you say, bar the Haaland chance which you kind of put over, not really creating enough. And you mentioned there about maybe trying to bring our creative players into the game more. How could they go about doing that, City, do you think? And
well, like Richard said, they forced us wide a lot. And first and foremost, Chelsea have defended, really well.
Agreed.
The chances we've had, the best chance I think was Haaland's header, but we've had a few shots blocked. Disasi's made some great interceptions and some good blocks. So they've defended really well. Can they do that for 90 minutes? That's a question that remains to be answered for them. But yeah, they've just got to try and maybe Foden's obviously been out wide a bit. Can he get inside a little bit more? We've got to keep getting the ball to Doku. You know, Gusto's quick, but he's not as quick as Doku, and if he can get into those positions and a better final ball, a better killer ball, and hopefully we can finish it off, because if we get a goal, you know, the roof will come off, the place will erupt, and then it'll just be attack after attack. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he makes a change at half time. But yeah, it's at the minute it looks like it's been a long second half for Chelsea, but you know they've looked very dangerous as well. So the next goal in this game is huge.
Yeah, absolutely massive. From a defensive point of view, and where we've been saying Chelsea might have fashioned a few of the better chances using the width, is there anything you've seen maybe shape-wise that City should be doing, or could be maybe doing a little bit better? Because they have been getting in Chelsea, as we've said here.
Yeah, I think when one centre half moves in, it naturally attracts the two. Fullbacks will come in a little bit more narrow. Well, Chelsea have been brave and just left their players really wide, which makes the pitch really wide when they get in possession. And the one thing that you've got, and it seems to go out of the game at times, is people to run. You just need people to run forward, and that causes chaos always. I think from a City's point of view, they're looking at it and they want to play really high up the pitch all the time. You've got to block people, and you've got to man mark at times, and they just seem to be taking up positions, and Chelsea are exploiting the spaces in behind them, and they've done it really well. And the more City come onto them in the second half, them spaces are only going to get bigger. Yeah,
absolutely. And they were coming on to us, and it was that man Raheem Sterling, you know, something that no City fan wanted to see. It's almost poetic the way that it was. As you say, out of his two chances though, Nicky, it was probably the harder one, but he did really well with a lovely kind of turn and finish.
Yeah, I think Kyle Walker's got dragged too far over to the ball. So when the ball gets played in by Jackson, Sterling's got a little bit too much time. Walker recovers, he managed to come back inside him, and it's a really good finish in the end. And you know, football's full of ironies, isn't it? And you sort of just knew that either himself or Cole Palmer would probably score today. Unfortunately, they have. Credit to him, it was a good finish, but hopefully we don't give them the space, you know, in the attacking areas for Chelsea that we have done in the first half.
What will be being said, Richard, in the City dressing room at the moment? Obviously, kind of going in, bit unfamiliar territory, being 1-0, well down at home. Yeah, what can you kind of maybe gauge as might be going on in there?
As the game was going on, I was watching Pep and trying to see what his reaction was to certain situations, and every time there was a counter-attack and they got in behind, he put his head in his hands thinking, no, don't do that. So he's going to try and sort out that balance, I think, of the team. They don't have the control that we spoke about beforehand, so they need to gain control of it. They need to trust themselves and play how they play.
Yes.
Also, just be careful defensively. It's not always going to go your way. You've got to be a little bit cautious defensively. The form that they've been in, the way they play football, they'll create opportunities, they'll score goals. You just need to have trust in themselves, and also don't be gung-ho, take your time, work their way back into it.
There was a few fans around me saying about maybe trying to get Foden into the game, but trying to maybe move him a little bit more centrally. So maybe substitution-wise, there could be something there, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. You know, it'd be interesting to see what he does substitution-wise. We were talking before the game about John Stones sort of versus Akanji in that position, if you like. You know, Akanji, when he plays in there, he's not quite as natural as John Stones in that sort of hybrid role that John Stones is sort of. It's the John Stones role, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw John Stones go into that role. But yeah, they've obviously got some younger players on the bench. But listen, there's more than enough on that pitch now to turn it around, and like we said, the next goal's massive. If it goes City's way, then you fully expect City to go on and win, but they've got to be careful, because you know Chelsea will be they'll be licking the chops a bit of, you know, how much space they've had in behind, and if Chelsea get the second goal, then it really is game on. But yeah, I think key word that Richard used well is patience. It's not going to happen, you know, in 50 or 60 minutes. It's, you know, we've still got 45, 50 minutes left. So yeah, we've got to be patient, but we've got to create chances and we've got to take them.
Yeah, particularly in those first 15 minutes. Just thinking, just to play devil's advocate, you know, we know Chelsea, and we spoke about before the show, haven't quite hit the form or found a rhythm to the game yet. But I have to say, in them 45 minutes there, it's probably one of the better looking Chelsea sides I've seen all season, Richard. They really haven't come and done very well here.
Definitely, it surprised me. I didn't realise they had that sort of almost discipline in their play. They've all sort of bought into a plan that the manager's put out. This is what he's trying to build and what he's trying to. He'll obviously want better quality players, I suppose, at the top end of the pitch to finish off the plan that he's got in place. But defensively, they look solid enough. They're young, they're fit, they're running around. The two midfielders look like they're they're starting to combine and understand what each other can do, because I think for a lot of the time they're both trying to do the same job all the time. Now they seem a little bit more like a combination which works. I think Conor Gallagher's very, very impressive.
Agreed.
The way he runs around the pitch, the way he's just intelligent in his work rate and what he does and what positions he takes up and how he makes a block and how he presses. I think he's been very good and very important. And I mean, so often I'm so used to seeing City dominate games, but there's some really good teams in the Premier League. Chelsea haven't had a great season, but they've spent £1 billion on players, so somewhere in there's a good side. Today they seem to have found it at the moment, and their plans have worked perfect.
Plans have worked perfect, not so much for City. And I wondered if just maybe think pace of the game as well. I mean, I know we're trying to control it, but it has felt at times, I don't know, that we've allowed, I mean, I might be wrong on this, but to kind of we're playing it a little bit slow, which let Chelsea get back in, and then suddenly to break them down is very, very difficult. Do you think maybe a little bit?
Yeah, I get that. You know, move the ball quicker. But I think you've got to give a lot of credit to Chelsea.
Yeah.
They've come here, they've set up well, they're not giving us space in those little pockets, they've defended really well centrally. So we've had to go out wide, and it's not quite happened for us. I don't think the goalkeeper Petrovic has made a save of any note.
No.
Like we said, Haaland's chance was probably the pick of the chances. He probably should do better there. But yeah, I think not as poor as City have been, but you can only be as good as the opposition allows you to be. And Chelsea have come in. I think they've been terrific, and you can see sort of a cohesion in their team, a togetherness, and they've got a definite plan. But yeah, the good thing is there's a lot more to come from City. If we can just up that tempo, a little bit of urgency, get De Bruyne in the game more, get Foden in the game more, try and get Rodri on the ball a little more as well, you know, going forward and keeping it. I mean, there was one particular time when Chelsea got possession. I think Raheem Sterling was in his own half, just in front of the half. He had 10, 15 yards. If the right ball had gone there into him, he'd have had acres to go at goal. So yeah, we've got to be careful to keep the back door shut. But yeah, certainly game on, and you know, the atmosphere's been good, and Chelsea certainly haven't come and parked the bus, that is for sure.
No, absolutely, and I guess that does give cause for hope. But how long do you think it would be, Richard? Maybe does Pep leave it before he thinks about changes? Obviously, the first 15 minutes this second half are crucial, but do you think he'd leave it short or maybe a bit longer and trust the players he's got on the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure his preference is to trust the players he's got out on the pitch. He's had amazing results for all them players. They've all produced for him, so I'm sure he'd be reluctant, but he's got... Probably Bernardo Silva would be the one for me that would come on, allowing Foden to come inside and maybe push Kevin even higher up again, alongside Erling Haaland up front, just to try and get, because the form that Foden's in, you need to use it, you need to exploit what he's doing at the moment. He's not restricted out on the right wing, but we don't see the best of him. Like he says himself, he wants to be in that middle, and if he can get in there, he's someone, like Pep spoke about, he can work in those tight spaces like there is today. And hopefully, I mean, there's been some rash tackling by Chelsea at times. Caicedo's on a yellow card. Maybe get him in and around there to try and get another one out of him, and yeah, use the rules of the game and try and get him sent off and get a bit more joy. Absolutely,
and there was actually there was a half chance. I think he picked up just on the edge of the box, and we both kind of oohed, because if he'd have managed to do that turn we've seen him do so many times, it might have opened him up on goal. That does show, though, just the season Foden's having, isn't it? You mean, and I totally agree with you, Richard, but I never thought I'd be saying about bringing Bernardo on and putting him wide to put Phil in the middle. You know,
you've got to get your best players on the ball. And you know, Phil's one of our best players, absolutely no question about that. He's having a fantastic season. So you've got to get more service into him, get him on the ball, get him in the pockets, on the half turn, driving at people, committing people, because he's full of goals and he's full of assists. So we need to get him on the ball more. You know, how we do that will be difficult, but you know, as Richard said earlier, if anyone's got a solution, it's Pep, and 9 times out of 10 he finds that solution. Let's hope he finds one this afternoon.
Absolutely. Well, listen, the boys are in the tunnel there, ready to come out. So just remember, guys, as well, we'll be back at full time. And while you're still with us as well before the boys head out, if you want to win some Jack Grealish signed boots, details are appearing on your screen now. I'll remind you of them as well at full time, but you can only win them exclusively here on Matchday Live. It is not the score any of us want to see, but there is still 45 minutes to go. A big 45 minutes to come here at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1. I'll see you at full time. It's back over to Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison, who've got your commentary on the City app.
Well, thank you, Kel. Welcome back to the Etihad Stadium. Two sets of players are in the tunnel. Doesn't look as though City have made a change. Seems to be the same 11 that started for the Blues. And I don't think Chelsea have made an alteration either. Fact is that this season in particular, the Blues have found a way to come from behind and win football matches. They've done it in the Premier League, they've done it in the Champions League. Well, they're going to have to do it again. Intriguingly, they have not won as many points from a losing position as they have already this season, 17, since 1993-94. So it shows you that they really know how to come